All right. Hello, it's me, Mike, with HPDS. I'm going to go ahead and get into, I believe it's Genesis 10 that I'm into next. Uh, so I'll do a Genesis 10 study. And so I'll go ahead and start with the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who is in heaven, hallowed be thy name. May your kingdom come. May your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Please give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us of our debt, as we forgive those in debt to us. And Lord, lead us not into temptation, but instead deliver us from the evil one. For yours is the kingdom of power and glory, Lord, forever and ever. Amen. All right, so let's go ahead and get into it. Genesis 9 was the last one I went over, where we're going a lot of curses. And it was the death of, we came across the death of, let me make sure I got that. We came across the death of Noah. So let's read Genesis 10. I'll read through it. Now these are the generations of the sons of Noah, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, and unto them were sons born after the flood. The sons of Japheth, Gomer and Magog and Madai and Javan and Tubal and Meshech and Tyrus. And the sons of Gomer, Ashkenaz and Rephath and Togarmah. And the sons of Javan, Elisha and Tarshish, Kittim and Dodanim. By these were the isles of the Gentiles divided in their lands, every one after his tongue, after their families in their nations. And the sons of Ham, Cush, and Mizraim, and Phut, and Canaan. And the sons of Cush, Seba, and Havilah, and Sabta, and Raamah, and Sabteka. And the sons of Raamah, Sheba, and Dedan. And Cush begot Nimrod. He began to be a mighty one in the earth. He was a mighty hunter before the Lord. Wherefore it is said, even as Nimrod, the mighty hunter before the Lord. And the beginning of his kingdom was Babel, and Erech, and Akkad, and Calneh, in the land of Shinar. Out of the land went forth Ashur, and builded Nineveh in the city, and the city of Rehoboth, and Calah, and Rezin between Nineveh and Calah, the same is a great city. And Mizraim begot Ludum, and Anamim, and Lehabim, and Naphtuhim, and Pathrusim, and Calshuhim, out of whom came Philistine, and Caphtorim. And Canaan begot Sidon, his firstborn, and Heth, and the Jebusite, and the Amorite, and the Girgasite, and the Hivite, and the Archite, and the Sinite, and the Arvadite, and the Zemarite, and the Hamathite. And afterward were the families of the Canaanites spread abroad. And the order of the Canaanites was from Sidon, as thou comest to Gerar, into Gaza, as thou goest unto Sodom and Gomorrah, and Admah, and Zeboim, even unto Lasha. These are the sons of Ham, after their families, after their tongues, in their countries, and in their nations. Unto Shem also, the father of all the children of Eber, the brother of Japheth the elder, even to him were children born. The children of Shem, Elam, and Asher, and Arphaxad, and Lud, and Aram. And the children of Aram, Luz, and Hul, and Gether, and Mash. And Arphaxad beget Salah, and Salah beget Aber. And unto Aber were born two sons. The name of one was Peleg, for in his day was the earth divided, and his brother's name was Joktan. And Joktan begat Almodad, and Shalef, and Hazar Maveth, and Jerah, and Hadoram, and Uzal, and Diklah, and Obal, and Abimael, and Sheba, and Ophir, and Havilah, and Jobab. All these were the sons of Joktan. And their dwelling was from Mesha, as thou goest into Sephar, a mount of the east. These are the sons of Shem, after their families, after their tongues, in their lands, after their nations. These are the families of the sons of Noah, after their generations, in their nations. And by these were the nations divided in the earth after the flood. All right, so that's That's quite a mouthful right there. That's a lot. That was basically the generations, and this is also an incredible aspect that people really don't take enough consideration, or they don't give it enough credit, that these people were keeping track of their generational lines. They were keeping good records. I mean, how many people can tell me 5 generations back? And we're gonna come across these people keeping from Noah. They're gonna keep track from Adam to Noah. They keep track from Noah to Moses, from Moses to David, from David to Jesus. I mean, to from David to the not even. There's another part too, from David until the till when the Israels were taken captive, and then again until when Jesus was born. So they keep record. They kept great records. I mean, they kept 40 some generations from, I think, Abram to from Abram to Jesus Christ, something along those lines. I forget the numbers, but we'll see that later. How well um, they kept really good records of their genealogies, and it's a feat that just is not. We can't rival that in today's world. Our The American people cannot trace their lineage that far back. It's just something that I would wager to. I would say that I bet you. I mean, if I doubt even Donald Trump, our current president, could trace his lineage 14 generations back. So I just don't believe there's really much, since anyway, it's incredible is what I would like to point out. And so that's what we're in. And we come across the sons of Ham, we come across the sons of Shem, and we're even told of the sons of Japheth. So in fact, let me take a look, see if I think I got a pretty good map here that I want to take a look at. Let's see. Let me pull it up. So you can see here. Here's a map of what I see, the genealogy of the nations. So this is all spoken of Japheth, Shem, and Ham. And we're going to get all these people, and we eventually come into Abram over here, but we do hear about Peleg and the children of Joktan, all his children. We did read about all of those. Let's take a look here. So let's go ahead and take a look. First off, we've got the children of the sons of Japheth. So here, first off, you're the generations of Noah. All his kids after the flood. Here's Japheth. So Gomer, Magog, all these names, and the son of Gomer, the sons of Javan. So these are children and his grandchildren. And then it calls these the Gentiles. They were the Gentiles divided. And we do even see Tarshish is a name that stands out to me. Let me take a look to see if I can't find, where is Tarshish. Where is Tarshish? And I mean, it's something that's out there. I don't know where this map is. Tarshish is out here. So here they are, Joppa to Tarshish. Tarshish is out. It's out there. So the Isles of the Gentiles, that's what they're saying. These Isles of the Gentiles are where is Tarshish? So Tarshish mine. Oh, that's something completely different. Tarshish in Wikipedia. Well, look at, I saw a Bible map. Tarshish. So you got a guy named Tarshish. The Hebrews, it's way out there. I don't even know where that is exactly. But it's out there, and it's out there, kind of like where Greece is or something. Is where it sees Britain or Spain. Where in the world is Tarshish? Let's see. I think it's right over here. And I know I don't know if I'm spending a lot of time on this, but it's kind of important. You look at how far out he was. There they are. Here's Tarshish, 2,500 miles away. Bam. So these children of the sons of Javan. Right here, look at that's how far out they go. When it says these are the isles of the Gentiles, divided in their lands, everyone after his tongues. Look at these guys after they made it out there. They probably they weren't afraid of the boat of the oceans after after coming out of that flood. I bet you they didn't mind they were expert at making boats after that flood situation. I would imagine. So it looks like they would have. Look at how far out those guys made. The Gentiles, that's Spain or something right there. They made it past Italy. They made it up Africa. They would have probably traveled that whole way up through, all of that. They would have been leaving people off that whole time too. So who knows how great those travels would have been. So let me see, where am I at? So there it goes. So let me go ahead and fix this, and let me go into these, and we will take a look once again at what's going on here at this genealogy. So that's the son of Japheth. Um, Tarshish, he's the son of Javan. Here's the Isles of the Gentiles. So these are all people. Look, they even call them Boath, Scots, the Scots or something. So these people probably made it up to Scotland and England and all that. But then we have, let's go ahead and get back into, so that was right there by 5. So let's go into 6 is where we get the sons of Ham. So let's take a look at this picture again, the sons of Ham. Let's go down here. We've got Cush and Mizraim, and then we've got Phut and Canaan. So you could see Cush, Egypt, Libya, Canaan. So these people were, and Canaan's children are named. So we do see the sons of Cush are named. So let's go ahead and take a look at the sons of Cush. We got Seba, Havilah, Sabta, Ramah, Septica, and Nimrod, which is the Babylonians, and we got the Saudi Arabians coming out of Cush. Let's see, what else do we got? After Cush, we got Nimrod, and Nimrod began to be a mighty one. So this mighty one again, let's take a look at this Strong's Hebrew. We're going to take a look at Genesis 10:8. 10:8. Let's go up to Genesis 10. And I'm going to go ahead and put 8 over here. 10:8. A mighty one. This Gibor. To become a mighty one. A mighty one. He was a mighty one. Genesis 10:8. So let's go 159 occurrences. This Gibor. Starting in 6:4. Those were the mighty men. So you see it's the same ones that were talked about in Genesis 6, and then were talked about in Genesis 10, and basically 10:9, 10:17, the great, a mighty, and terrible. So it's even when we get into talking about Deuteronomy, talking about God and how he's talking to him as in the form of a god almost right here. So like Nimrod, this mighty, that's how mighty this is. The valiant warriors in Joshua. So look, then the warriors. So he's talking about really strong people, and they would have been these same people that are, I kind of probably didn't even mention them, but the Nephilim. But that's another word that they use for the giants when they're talking about them in Genesis 6. But Nimrod, again, getting into that whole idea of what's going on in the world with the transhumanism kind of agenda going on, that the snake is making himself bigger and bigger, trying to be big, trying to be a crazy beast for some reason. He's really altering his body. So was the same with Nimrod. Ultimately, he was altering his body. He became he was not just was he becoming a giant, he was a mighty hunter before the Lord. So they took it again, like you said, the animals were definitely afraid of this guy. This guy was a mighty hunter. This guy went out and he killed animals left and right, probably. He was a hunter. Those animals were afraid of him. Um, and so that means he was running around, probably with bows and arrows and traps and all kinds of killing devices and all kinds of, and he's eating all kinds of meat, I'm sure. And he's also obviously Babel is right there. Let's go ahead and let me take a look at this land of Shinar. I got this map of, where is it? King Ra. So here's Nimrod's kingdom as well. Take a look at this, the land of Shinar. So you could see where he's coming from. Babylon, Kish. Let's see what are the cities named. Babel, Erech, Akkad. So let's see if we can find Erech, Akkad, Kalna. Erech, Akkad, or Kalna. Erech, Akkad. So Erudu could probably, maybe, who knows. Akkad, Kalna. I don't really see them in this particular, but we do see Babylon right there, so that would have probably been close to Babel. And a lot of these names are sometimes they're really changed throughout history, or they sound close. Look, and I know I heard Sidon somewhere around here. So we got, out of the land went forth Asher and builded Nineveh. Rehoboth, I think I saw Nineveh out there. Rehoboth or Nineveh. Let's take a look if we see Rehoboth or Nineveh. I think Nineveh was around here somewhere. Oh, here it is, Nineveh. Here's Kalhad right there. Oh, look, there's Asher. So here we are seeing them, that they are this is all his area, though. That's his kingdom. He was all up and down that river. That's where he was. That's what he was doing. Let's see. And then we got Mazraim, begat Ludum, Anamim, and I don't really see where they were, but we're told in this picture that they were Egyptians. So that was Egypt, the Philistines. Some of these guys are the Philistines. And let's keep going. So there's a lot of geography going on. There's a lot of genealogy kind of splitting up where these people go. And this is like the super important stuff too, because this is what the kings would have been keeping track of. This is what we will come across Melchizedek later on, but he would have been keeping track of all of this. And they would have been keeping track of it on paper. That's how amazing these guys were coming out of Noah. I mean, these guys were traveling all over the place. And not only that, they were keeping in touch with each other. They were still going back and forth. They were sending runners back and forth. They were sending mail back and forth. They were able to communicate with each other. They were keeping track of where they went and where they left off, and saying, those guys went and settled the Gentiles, and they were keeping track of this. This is what was going on after Noah. They were that. It was, and some of these guys were giants. It seems like they were mighty ones. They were becoming the mighty ones again, the same ones that were talked about as being giants. They were also called the Nephilim in some cases, but basically what they were is they were basically kind of these creatures that were also men. They're considered men. God considers them men. God called them men. They were as men. They come perhaps from this Cain. They were perhaps supposed to not be doing what they're doing, though, because after God killed the flesh, he was really sending a note that he's the only one allowed. He's the Lord of hosts. He is the only one that can inhabit and dwell the temples that we know as the human bodies. And we do find that later, that God is calling, Jesus Christ comes and calls it the temple. This is his temple. This is my temple. And this is the temple of the Lord, and he dwells within us. And so he was really sending a signal to these fallen creatures. We call them fallen now. We would call them fallen angels. We would call them Satan and his minions, demons. We call them demons. We call them all sorts of things like that. But they would have been from the line of Cain. And during the time of the flood, they would have lost all of their rights and all of their legal status to inhabit any of the creatures. The only animals that they would have been allowed to inhabit would have been the animals, the fish in the ocean. They could have gone and stayed in the deep, the ocean, and they could have inhabited the fish. And that would have been their only real way, because we do find out later on in Matthew, and I want to say it was Matthew 12, but when we get into Matthew 12, let me see, Matthew 12 KJV. Matthew 12, and it was somewhere in here when an evil spirit, let's see, I think it's this one. I'm taking a look, I'm going down. Then was one brought to them. Here's a possession. Yeah, there's an evil. If I cast them out, he's talking about the strong man. He's talking about casting out. I cast out devils by the Spirit of God. You know, and if you cast, and if by Beelzebub cast out devils, by whom do your children cast them out? Therefore, they shall be your judges. That's what he's telling them. So he's casting out, this is Jesus Christ, casting out a devil. He's calling it a devil. And what does he say about this evil adulterers? And he's talking about the queen of the south and the men of Nineveh. And here it is, it's 43. When the unclean spirit is gone out of a man, he walketh through dry places seeking rest, and findeth none. Then he saith, I will return into my house from whence I came out. And when he is come, he findeth it empty, swept, and garnished. And then goeth he and taketh with himself 7 other spirits more wicked than himself. And they enter in and dwell there. And the last state of the man is worse than the first. Even so shall it be also until this wicked generation. So you can see where he's talking about these unclean spirits, that when the unclean spirits go out of us, these line of Cain, they go through dry places and they looking for rest, but they can't find any. So that's what's going on. They were supposed to go into the ocean with these fish, apparently, and that would have been God telling them, that is all that you are allowed to inhabit. You are not allowed to inhabit anything else. And he had just proclaimed in the last, and when we get to Genesis, that whole Genesis 9, he had just proclaimed about the blood. Basically, you're allowed, I'm going to require the blood from everybody, from the blood of your brothers. So he was basically telling the people of Cain that, look, what Cain did was wrong. Murder is illegal. God has laid a law. You are not allowed to murder. If you murder, you yourself are subject to death. I must reclaim your blood. And that is what happened. That's how serious it was. That was the law. It was a proclamation. It was a blessing. It was a curse. It was one of the conditions of the blessings, and so forth. It was a lot of things like that going on. It was a real legal thing. And that's what we're seeing here, is that those lines of Cain weren't supposed to get into the humans anymore. That blah blah blah. But obviously here they come back, and after a while they become mighty hunter, and so that's why even these people have to be taught, and these aren't they aren't chosen, but they we do come across, God deals with them, and he even goes to Nineveh, and he preaches out to Nineveh as well. And that's the sign of Jonah that we come across when Jonah goes, and Jonah is out there, and he has to preach to Nineveh for their repentance and so forth. But these are his people. So this is, like I said, this is a lot of genealogy and a lot of geography and a lot of things that God, as king and priest, and we do come across Melchizedek soon enough, but right now you would say somebody had to be keeping track of it, because here it is written down. They're keeping real good track of it. And look, like I said, we got the pictures. Here's the names. Here's the genealogy of these guys. Here's some of the land. Here's the bunch of the cities that we know that exist and that existed and exist and so forth to this day. And we've even seen pictures going into, where is Tarshish? Look at this, going out, Joppa, Nineveh. We could see how far these guys were making it out in this genealogy, and it was being kept track of. Somebody was keeping track of it, and whoever it was, we find out it was probably God. God himself kept track of it. But Let's see. Let's keep going. Uh, Here's Nineveh, Calah, and Mizraim. Let's see, out of the Philistine. And Canaan begot Sidon. So Canaan, there's Canaan and Sidon, his firstborn. So let's take a look. That I do recognize that name. Sidon is over here, so this is getting into the land of Canaan over here. And there's Sidon. So Canaan's over there. And the Jebusite and the Amorite and the Girgashite and the Hivite and the Archite and the Sinite, those are all in that area from Canaan. And the border of the Canaans was from Sidon, as thou comest to Gerar unto Gaza, unto Sodom and Gomorrah, and Zeboim even into Lasha. So his area was basically from here down to here. All this area was his. Bam, bam, bam. That was Canaan, land of Canaan, and we know that to become Israel in the future. That becomes Israel, and it's given to the descendants of Abraham. But in the meantime, here they are, Canaan. And so they're given, oh, there's more. Let me see. I always press the wrong button sometimes. So we do see that when we come to Abraham, where is Abraham? Abraham is right here, Abram. He comes from Peleg. So he does come from Shem. And Canaan comes from over here, Ham. And so what did it say? That the Japheth would live in the tents of Shem, and Canaan would be their servant. So Abram is going to take over, and the line of Abram is going to inherit. Ultimately, they inherit the land of Canaan, and that is something that happens, and that stems from 9, when Noah makes that curse against Canaan because of what Ham does. So that's what he tells them. God shall enlarge Japheth. So who are the people of Japheth? Let's go ahead and take a look. Japheth are these people that we saw, these Tarshish, these are the Gentile people. He's going to enlarge them, make them really large. And those people are still living to this day. We're parts of these. These are we're part of the Gentile people. These are the Europeans, and the Europeans moved into the Americans, into the United States, and so they're still part of these same people, right? And what does he say about them? Once again, let's go ahead. He's going to say those people are going to enlarge, and he shall dwell in the tents of Shem. So we're going to dwell in the tents of Shem. And who are the people of Shem? That comes down to Abram, the Semitic people. The important people are not just these guys, the Yemenites, these Arabians, but really under Abram. The covenant is made through Abram. So Abram and the Jews, and what we know as the Jews and the Israelites, they ultimately are going to be the tents in which the Gentiles dwell in. So the Gentiles are going to dwell in the tent that is established to the covenant with Abraham. And what else are we going to hear? And Canaan shall be his servant. And Canaan will be his servant. So all these people in Canaan, here, the family of the Canaanites, these Hittites, the Amorites, the Archasites, the Jebusites, the Girgasites, Sidon, the Phoenicians, the Hittites. And these people were going to be the cousins over here of Nimrod, who is becoming. So Nimrod, and so these people, so it's not just Nimrod that becomes a mighty man, but basically it's saying that not just them, but the cousins as well. All these guys will start having giants among them as well, because they are all part of this cursed family line. And Canaan is ultimately going to be the land that gets taken over, and they become servants to the Abramites. That whole land becomes servants to the the Israelites is what we would call them, the people of Abraham. So that is a curse that is established that God fulfills. And it was a curse that was made many, many thousands of years ago by Noah in a drunken stupor or in a hungover state. And that's how God is telling us how important our words are, that's how long they echo through history, because that is still being fulfilled, and being to this day it's still being fulfilled. The Gentiles are in fact dwelling in the tents of the Israelites. That's what's going on. We as Christians, we dwell in that tent through Jesus Christ. And then more than that, the Canaanites are the servants. Their whole that whole land has become part of Israel. Israel is the capital of it. The Philistine. We know what's going on in the whole Gaza. We know what America is supporting. America supports Israel. We know that. That's what's going on here. Never mind the Philistines. Never, those Philistines, the Palestinian now. That's these people. And they're gonna ultimately be families of the Canaanites, because they're basically just loose cousins, but they've intermarried and so forth. So the Canaanites own that place, and they are servants to Israel, and we still see it playing out to this day. And that's how important our blessings and our cursings are. That's how it is. Um, so that those so these I'm just gonna move in. I'm just gonna keep going past all these. These are a lot of names to work through, and they will become important, and we should recognize who they are. And this is a great chart. This is a pretty good chart, the genealogies of the nations, because we will come across a bunch of these different names, and and it is important to know, because genealogy it tells us like geography, like where they were, and where exactly some of these incidents occurred. um and right here, it just sums it up at the end of Genesis, that this is the end of Genesis 10, that these are the families of the sons of Noah and their generations and their nations, and by these were their nations divided. And so keep in mind that there was a bunch of them that came after this. There's a bunch. These are just the names of usually the heirs, some of the more important guys. But there was still a bunch more other people being born all throughout this as well. It wasn't just this handful of people. These are just the names, the people that are named, and they're named because of their political standing, because of their inheritance, because they're basically, most of the time, they're most of the firstborns, the first few born, and they were the ones given inheritance rights, and the other children after them were usually just sent away and sent to their own land with a bunch of stuff. And they were, here's a bunch of stuff. Here's a token of the fact that you're, this child, but this is all you inherited. You're not the oldest brother. You're not the oldest brothers. That's your older brother. Your older brother got all this stuff. You can go make your own stuff, and so forth. And so that's kind of how it was back in those days, I guess you could kind of say. But like I said, overall, getting the summary of Genesis 10 is a huge list of genealogy that is incredible. It's incredible historical records that we cannot even rival to this day. How long and how far back they were able to keep track of their genealogy and their bloodlines, and then we also see the rise again of these. Perhaps they come from the land. They come from the line of Cain, but we see the rise of the giants again, the mighty ones. These people became mighty ones, and they started kingdoms, and we'll come across in the next chapter, Genesis 11. We'll come across right away the Tower of Babel, and we're gonna see what's going on there in that that land of Shinar, where the mighty one Nimrod created, his city, to see what happens in his city. And then we'll come across later on with Abram, we come across what happens in the land of Canaan with Sodom and Gomorrah and so forth. So this is really historical records that are kept in very great detail, and they were done by God, and more than likely we'll find that they were probably kept by Melchizedek, and he would have been in Jerusalem, which will be in the land of Canaan, and Abram's going to come across him around chapter 14 or so, and so chances are he was the one keeping these records, but the people were traveling, and he was definitely with them, and he was guiding them. He had blessed them to be fruitful and to multiply, and he would have been keeping track of them, and that's what this chapter is all about. Uh, his his royal his royal documents, his royal genealogies, his royal he's keeping track of the records, and he was also keeping track of Noah's proclamation of his curse. Noah came out and cursed them, and then he blessed them, and so there goes God saying, "All right, I'm going to fulfill these for Noah because he uttered them." And that's how important your words are, guys. So I'm going to go ahead and stop the video here and say God bless you to anybody who may be watching. I pray we all bless Jesus Christ, and may Jesus Christ bless all of us. Amen.